Hello, everyone. Welcome. Why is that? My mind went blank. Like, wait, is
What we
this?
doing?
What am I doing? Who am I? Welcome to another
Been a
episode of
long day,
Nice to
y'all.
Know. It's been a very long day. Like, I literally just stopped working right before we started recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Um, Nigel knows that's who we
Yeah,
are. And
that's
welcome back.
us.
And we're so
Yes.
glad you're back. And we're gonna talk
Yes.
about something else today, like we always do. And today we talk about depression, dealing with it,
Mm.
going through it, et cetera, et cetera. You may hear some personal stories from us, whatever we feel free to share. Make sure that you like, follow, comment, subscribe. See, my mind.
Share.
Subscribe, share. There we go. I knew it was something I was missing.
Yeah.
This episode, any of our episodes on, we are on YouTube. We never say that. We're on YouTube. Obviously, that's probably where you're watching us, because that's what we
Come on now.
up most. There we go. But we're also on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeartRadio. We're Google Podcast.
Prime
Everywhere.
podcast. Bing,
Prime,
bong, bong. Yeah.
Amazon, everywhere,
We
everywhere,
everywhere.
Amazon Music. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just look us up, okay?
Yeah.
But
Listen.
so I'm Nick Cat.
Felicia. Hey y'all.
So,
We here.
yeah. So we here. We're talking about depression. You know what made me think about this was I went to the Megan Thee Stallion concert. By the time this post, it'll be like 3 weeks ago. But and it was great. It made me feel like I was 25 again. The energy was just amazing. It was so much fun, and I was acting wretched and everything. You know what I'm saying? But when she did her song where she is talking about then one of her newer songs where she's talking about her depression and things she's been going through. And when the intro started, she was like, "I'm gonna try to get through this without crying, y'all." And she started crying. And then, the whole stage setting came down and stuff. And she did maybe 2 lines and she stood and she cried, and you're listening to the words and people were just cheering and like, "We love you, Meg," and that type of thing. And it made me think like, everybody goes through stuff. We tend to think because they're celebrities, oh, you got all this money, access, fame, that it's going to be different. But
No.
think about somebody like her who lost both her parents, her grandparents. She's the only child, and having these different things happen to her, and it's in the public eye, and everybody and their mama got an opinion and all this other stuff. People deal with all kinds of things. And I've just talked a lot. So depression, Felicia.
Oh Lord. It's funny that we're talking about this now. I just went to my annual at my doctor, and not many people know, but when my mom got sick, I got prescribed Xanax, and that's for anxiety. But I didn't want to go on anything for depression just because I know what it does to the brain. And then you have to kind of taper yourself off, and the doctor has to taper you off. And I didn't want to do that. But being on the Xanax did help. It helped me sleep because when you are depressed, you don't want to be here in the present because you don't want to deal with whatever issues that you have going on here, and you just want to escape. And I've dealt with that for a long time. And even now, currently, are things a lot better now? Yes. Do I still have my struggles? Absolutely. But I can better gauge now when I'm falling into a depressed state.
Right.
Um, it's rough. And I advise people to seek help. Don't always reach for the medication. Oh, and I brought up the thing about my doctor because they were going through my chart asking me, okay, well, do you want to fill your Xanax? I said, I haven't taken it in years. They took it off my chart. It was like a yay moment for me, but also there was a little panic, but like, well, what if I need it? But no, I'm not, because I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm back in therapy. So go talk to somebody. Talk to your friends, get help. Depression is no joke, and you can spiral and go to a deep, dark place that can be really hard to climb out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've dealt with it. I recognize now probably majority of my life starting in childhood. Of course, when you're a child, you don't know what that is. And I'm thinking if I want to share this story or not. But yeah, I guess I will. So, I was actually when we first moved to Palm Coast, that's when I first met you, 7th grade. It was very difficult because it's something new. not having many friends, being, picked on really bad, bullied, et cetera, et cetera. Thank God I met you because I was like my escape, like, oh, there's somebody else that's like me that I could talk to.
She's quiet
Um,
too.
but I was suicidal, and I, you know, thoughts of how to do it, et cetera, et cetera, and went to this um conference, like Christian conference. My mom was really, I've talked about my parents Christian, dad pastor, but my mom was like really into the women conferences and retreats and stuff like that. So went to one with her and one of her friends, and her friend's friend who had like two daughters that were slightly younger than me, but not too much younger than me. The lady's up there preaching, and she's like speaking to people and prophesying, what they call prophesying, stuff like that. And she's just like, yeah, it's like I feel it. There's like the spirit of suicide in here, and somebody needs to be delivered. And like as soon as she said it, it was like my heart was like gonna pound out of my chest. And she's like, you need to come up here now. You need to come up here now. So I turned to my mom. I was crying. I was like, Mommy, it's me. It's me. I need to go up there. I'm about to start crying now. And went up there, prayed and everything. And we got back to the hotel where we were staying. And this is why, sidebar, you need to talk to your children, and you need to, and I know sometimes as parents, adults, because we know more than them, we tend to dismiss things like, oh, I used to go through, you ain't have been through nothing, blah blah, that all those things may be true, but you still have to be very careful how you handle things sometimes with your children. Everybody processes
Mhm.
things different. So sometimes our words, we got to be careful, because what you think is nothing, it can mean everything to that child. So anyway, go back to the hotel, and if you know me, and I've talked about it on here, I'm very selective, even just now, selective with what I share. Like I don't talk about my stuff. Most stuff I keep to myself, and it's very few people that are actually going to know full details about whatever I got going on,
Mhm.
just because I'm not a big sharer like that. We get back to the hotel. I'm sitting on the bed. My mom sits next to me. Her friends and their daughters, they all sit on the bed across. My mom looks at me. So what's wrong? You crazy? You're not crazy, are you? Are you crazy? What's wrong? Why? And I'm just sitting there, and I was just like, nothing. What's wrong? So why do you want to go up there? Why do you want to kill yourself? Why do you want to kill yourself? Nothing. I was just like, nothing. I'm fine. They
Wow.
prayed for me, moved on. I already knew it, but learned that day, like, okay, so this is not something that I can just talk about, because the
Mhm.
reaction is, you're selfish, you're blah, blah, blah. Why would you want to do that? That's so selfish. That's one of the most selfish things you could do. That's what people like to say, especially Black Christian people. They like to say that, which it may be true in the sense that, yeah, you're only thinking about yourself, but that's like probably one of the worst things you could say to someone that is suicidal.
Yes.
One of the worst things you could
Yes.
say. Um, Later on, and I realize I'm talking a lot. Later on, when I was, older, went to school, came back pregnant with my first child. Um, the response, first of all, I was scared to tell my parents, obviously. And so many times I wanted to tell my mom because we were close in some ways. I couldn't because I knew what her reaction was going to be.
Mhm.
Finally, through someone else, actually, my child's godfather. But anyway, had to tell my parents, obviously, because you're going to start showing whatever. And the reaction from my mom was, um, I would be at home and she would call, she'd be at work or whatever, she'd call. And another thing, and then just be fussing. One of the things, probably the things I remember the most is, and don't you be crazy. You doing that crazy stuff. Don't go have an abortion and kill that baby. You better not do nothing crazy like that. Kill yourself and kill that baby. And then what I used to have to do, these are things she would say to me, and other things which I won't even say. Um, I would have to call my son's godfather, and like call and be like, she won't leave me alone, like, please. And he would call her, and that's what would make her stop. And then she'd come home and it'd start over again, and that type of thing. And I was depressed the whole time I was pregnant. After I had him, depressed because me and the father, that started going bad and everything with his parents, my parents, like it was just bad. I lost so much weight. I was so skinny. I hadn't been that skinny before I was pregnant. I hadn't been that
Mhm.
skinny when I was in high school. The back of my hair, all my hair fell out. So I would pull my hair back and just pull and make a low bun to cover up the big bald spot. I had. So I had postpartum depression, all types of stuff. Go ahead. I see you about to say something.
No, no, no. I'm scratching my head.
Oh,
I'm scratching, girl.
talk about my
Girl.
hair falling out. And it was probably one of the worst times of my life. So my son was probably about 6 months old, and some certain things started to change, and I started to feel, better. My hair grew back like crazy after I got through that particular part of it. Like my hair was growing like crazy. um, but I've dealt with it on and off. I've, shared with you, but last year, most of the year, nobody would know because I don't talk about it, but I was depressed pretty much the whole
Mhm,
year for
mhm.
various reasons. But it's definitely something that you can get through.
Yes.
Um, but you have to find somebody you can trust. That's like the biggest thing is finding somebody you can trust that you can confide in, and that's not going to go repeat it to other people, and that's not going to be judgmental towards you, which is why therapy
Mhm.
probably is the best way.
Yeah.
But that's just my story on depression, at least part of it. And just as a reminder or a hope or a light to anybody that is going through it, that you can get through it and live a happy life. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life now, with coming up with coping strategies and stuff like
Yes.
that. Speaking of which, when you have dealt with it, what coping strategies, what type of things did you do to try to get through it or get yourself out of it or whatever?
When it first comes on, my first instinct is to sleep.
Yeah.
I want to sleep. But then it's getting myself back because what happens is my routines that I'm accustomed to, getting up, going to the gym, coming home, making, something to eat, showering, get on for work because I work from home. Those things start to fall off. I start sleeping later. So it's making that conscious effort. And even though I don't want to do those things, pushing myself anyway.
Yeah.
That's what for me personally, it's pushing myself anyway. Because if I don't, I'm gonna go deeper. I'm gonna go deeper. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna stop talking to people. I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna get annoyed. I'm gonna get irritated with people easily. So I have to keep going. I have to keep pushing. So because it's nobody else's fault. It's everything compounded, through the years that are just, coming at me again in waves that I just have to, it's the ebb and flow. So I
Right.
just have to keep going. I have to keep pushing and
Yeah.
know that there is that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. Yes. And, I used to journal a lot. Like sometimes every once in a while, I'll go back and read my old journals. And when I read them, sometimes I cry. I'm about to cry now because I see,
How sad you are.
yeah, and my mental state and the things I would say to myself. Now you're talking about what other people would say to me, but things I would say to myself. You're nothing. You're worth nothing. Like all types of things that I would
Girl,
write.
don't make me cry.
But I go back and read them sometimes because it's a reminder on how far I've come, and it's a reminder that, for me, and it's not gonna be the case for everybody. My children was what gave me hope because, like, okay, well, I may not think I'm anything, but my children do, so I got to be here for them. They're
Yes.
because they didn't, it's not their fault they're here. I got to make sure. And that boy Joseph, my oldest one, ooh, y'all got to give me a minute. I feel like um God gave him to me, like literally gave him to me as a gift to show me and remind me what unconditional love looks like. Because that boy right there, like I was 19, 20 when I had him. I mean, he was my rider for real. Like my rider, and I would try not to cry in front of him. And sometimes it's like we're very close, sensitive to each other's moods and stuff like that. He wouldn't even know that I had been crying or whatever. And he'll be playing with his trucks, and then he'll just like stop, and he'll come in the room like, "Mommy, are you okay?" Like, "Yeah, I'm fine, Joseph." And he'll come sit on my lap and put his little bitty arm around me and hug my neck. And it was just the
Mhm.
sweetest thing. Just be like, "Okay, okay, Nick, it's gonna be fine, Nick, it's gonna be fine." Whew, Jesus, that boy right there. Thank God for my baby. That's why,
Yes.
people say, I was pregnant. Oh, it's a mistake. No,
No, there's a
no.
reason. There's
There's
a
a reason.
reason.
No child is a mistake.
No,
No child is a
I don't care
mistake.
how they got here. Mm-mm.
No child is a mistake. Because that boy right there got me through it. Like he don't even know. Sometimes I tell him and he's like, oh, okay. I love you so much. But that boy
Yes.
got me through. And by the time, my children were 10 years apart. So by the time I had Caleb, obviously I was much better. But him too, because he keep me on my toes. His rambunctious self. He's
Mhm.
screaming, he's laughing, he's crying, he's throwing the tantrums. So I didn't have time to sit down because he can't keep me going. But even if you don't have, children to keep you motivated or whatever, and it doesn't always work that way. Children don't always motivate people to, stay here. But look to something that you can, or find something that you can
They
look
have
for.
groups.
They
They
have,
have groups. There's this one program that my one therapist who I was bucking the system, boy. I still didn't do it just because I'm stubborn. But she wanted me to join this group called Al-Anon. And
mm,
it's, people who are going through the same things as you and they have different meeting times. She was like, you're coming to meet with me, but I still want you to do that. "Ah, I don't want, and I never did it. Just I don't want to talk to them. That's why I'm here with you. Talking to you. I don't want to talk to them. But don't be like me, y'all. Don't be stubborn. Find you a good group of people, people who are going through stuff like you, or not even the same exact thing, but similar. And you have, those common things where you can all try to heal and get better together.
yeah,
They have these things out there. So utilize it.
yeah. Yeah, utilize those things, and we'll put some resources up here. There's all kind of websites and
Mhm.
free things that you can do. And one thing I will say, because sometimes people don't know, it may or may not be offered, but like I think majority of the jobs that I have, employers, because mental health is like a
Mhm.
forefront in a lot of topics and things. A lot of times therapy and things are a part of your insurance. So check
Absolutely.
your insurance plan, because sometimes like with mine, you get a certain number of free sessions and then there's a copay, but it's a lowered copay
Mhm.
because you are not a lowered copay, but a copay nonetheless because
Mhm.
you have
But
insurance.
it's a discounted rate that you
Yeah,
get through your insurance.
that part. Yeah. And a lot
Yeah.
of times like when you go to look at your benefits, they'll have other sites and direct you to other places where you can, find help and find someone to talk to. So I
Yes.
encourage you to look at your insurance plan with your employer too, because you never know. You might be able to get the help you
Yes.
need without having to come up off a lot of money.
Yes. And we talk about depression for us, right?
Mhm.
My daughter, I mean, severe depression, and not my proudest moment. Like we all know we're gonna mess up in some way as parents, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like that was probably one of my worst parenting moments. Not when I found out she was depressed, but is how she told me and how I responded. And now I'm not gonna cry. Um, Oh, the way I responded was horrible, almost similar to, your situation with your mom. And that was the moment where I throwing, because I have a cousin who is near and dear to my heart. I love him dearly. He committed suicide. I was bringing that up and almost like, in a sense, shaming her for even wanting to leave me here without her. Like, why would you do that? That was not the right way to handle it. So watch how you speak to your kids if they're communicating stuff like that to you. It's not easy. I know that now. And that made me do a complete 360 in how I communicate with my daughter.
Mhm.
Yes, I gave birth to her and brought her here, but she is her own person.
Right.
I need her to feel safe in coming to talk to me and telling me, what's going on with her.
Right.
So she ended up in therapy and it helped a little bit. And now she's getting older, she's our relation once that switch happened, our relationship did get better. But that one thing, I mean, it sent our relationship down a dark and slippery slope just by me responding out of my fear and my anger.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with me,
Right. Right.
you
And I
know?
think as parents, sometimes we forget that because of the fact we birthed them. So we tend to think in an ownership
Yes.
state when really you're just the vessel to get them here. You do not
Yes.
own them. At some
Yes.
point, they will leave your house and be their own person in their
Yep.
own life. And you want that child to be able to come to you and tell you what's going on, whether they're living in their house, your house or not.
Absolutely.
Because of my experience, I tell my children that, listen, especially being boys, men don't cry, ooh, even their dad, like, don't tell them that, don't tell him not to cry. He can cry to you, maybe out in the
Mm-hmm.
world, he might want to hold it back. But I tell them, listen, the world, as a man, the world is going to tell you you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to have emotion. You're supposed to keep it in, suck it up, and keep going. That's what they're going to tell you. I
Mm-hmm.
can't stop them from telling you that. I can't stop from people from laughing or treating you as if something is wrong with you if you show emotion. But just know, if you got to suck it up out there, you feel like you have to, that's fine. Just know when you come here at mama's house,
You got a safe
mommy's
place.
room, this is a safe place. And I've done that a few times with my older, and he'll break down and cry and tell me what's going on. This is a safe place. And even if it's something you think I'm going to get mad at, something you did that, you shouldn't have done, I won't be, I tell all the time, I will not be mad forever. I
Nope.
might have a temporary moment where I'm mad. And then guess what? We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Get all the emotion out, and then we'll figure it out. I'll excuse myself, put myself in the room if I have to, if I'm angry, and then I'll come back out and we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But your home, the home as a parent for your child, your home should be, a safe place for them to
Yes.
express themselves, especially when those say, and when I say express themselves, that's such a broad statement because people think like, oh, that means they can say and do whatever. No,
No.
because if you raise them, so yeah,
To
they
be
can't be
respectful.
respectful, but for the most part, they will still be respectful.
Yeah.
But again, they know that that's a safe
Yes.
place for them to come share what's going
Yeah.
on.
They still have that you still want to create that space for them to have that open dialogue with you in a respectful manner, of course.
Right.
But they're people. People
Right.
look at kids, children, and like you said, you're not supposed to feel this or you shouldn't be feeling this because you haven't lived life or you haven't done this. They're still humans.
Right.
And going through school, like you said, I've been bullied from kindergarten all the way up to, high school, people wanting to fight me because why?
Because
I
she
don't
was
even
pretty.
think they knew.
That's literally the only reason, because she didn't talk to nobody but me. So I mean, friends, not just me, but
Yeah.
just because she was pretty and smart.
Just being, but so kids go through things just because they're not working and they don't have the stresses of the world and a boss beating down your back to get something done. They still have stresses, and if they're telling you they're depressed, you need to listen and listen to what I'm saying. I know. So took a long time to build that trust, and that rapport back with my daughter, because it wasn't only that, as I did say some other stuff that I'm not going to share because it was not my proudest moment, but it's now getting back like, okay, my mom's getting it. Like she listened to what I was, telling her.
Mhm.
But listen to your children
Yeah.
and listen to yourself too. When you feel like something is off or you're just down, don't just chalk it up to, oh, I'm just stressed because no, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to get help.
Yeah. Yeah. And even as an adult, thinking back to, you tend to carry things. My mom did this, or my dad didn't do this, or they, I saw this video on TikTok where the guy, I'm saying boy, but a young man was in the car, and he's like, it just came to me. My mom is just a girl. She's just a girl. And it was like all these comments and people were stitching his video and stuff saying like, yeah. And I think about how badly I treated her when I was a teenager. She was just a girl trying to figure it out. And when you think about it in that context, it helped me to have forgiveness
Yes.
for, both my parents, but my mom, particularly in this situation, because she had things that she went through and experienced that were way worse than what at least in my mind, way worse than what I experienced.
Hmm.
And never, at least in my opinion, never really got through it, you know?
She didn't get the help that she probably should have gotten.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she had, church and was saved and all that. But I think sometimes too, when it comes to that, people tend to think, well, because I went to church, because I'm Christian or whatever, that, all these other things magically go away because now I know, I love Jesus. And like
Jesus put the
that's
therapist here for a reason now.
gave us the tools. Gives people the knowledge and the wherewithal and the desire to want to help other people. So
Yes.
utilize what has been put here for you.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, this I don't even know how long we've been talking.
I
I feel
don't
like I
know.
talked a lot. And now I'm gonna wonder, like, oh my God, when I'm editing this, like, I should
Please,
have never
yeah,
said
y'all,
that.
she an overthinker. I
I'm
am
a,
too, but so I'm starting to think you might be a little worse than me. Ooh, because I'm an overthinker too, like extreme overthinking.
like,
But
dang,
I'm
why did
starting,
I tell that story? I should have never said that.
but it's okay. That's why we have this platform that we're trying to grow and to build. We have to be relatable and we have to share,
Yeah.
uncomfortable stories, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. People do relate to us. We get the
Yeah.
messages and, comments and stuff like that. People say, not necessarily always in the comments, but people will tell me themselves or
Yes,
send
put
me
it
a
in the comments,
message or
y'all.
put it in the comments, put it in the comments. But yes, depression is something that I feel probably everybody deals with at some point in their life. How severe it is may vary. But make sure, like you said, you seek help. We'll put some links and numbers up here,
Mhm. We
hotlines and
got
things
a we
like
got a
that.
therapist we can get y'all to.
Yeah, we actually have a specific therapist that
Yes,
we can
yes,
recommend, and he's really
yes.
good because he
He
happens to
is.
be mine. Yeah,
Mine too.
Jesus.
Yes.
And he's really good because, like I said, I don't talk no, like I don't be talking like that. And he's one of the very few people to be like, "What's wrong?" And I just start crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll put all those resources up there. Of course, our socials and everything up there. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. What else? That's all of them, right? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We got it. All right, y'all. So thank y'all so much for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Peace out.